Please welcome our presenter, Jim Elder.
I'm up here because I'm old. And I feel sorry for a lot of you people because you never had the pleasure to see Lorne ride. And as Torchy and Davy said, you know, he was a great, great horseman. Lorne grew up in an era when where the professional was king. All the professionals at that time were the best riders and had the best horses, and Lorne was the king. Unfortunately, at that time, the professionals could not ride on the team or at the Olympics. They couldn't ride on an international team, I should say. So, but it took till about the mid or early 60s, I guess, for the FEI rules to relax, and Lorne rode for Canada on 2 occasions. In any sport, you need a role model, someone to look up to, and someone who sets a high standard. Lorne was that man. He was, back then, Ian Miller, like Ian Miller is today. In 1948, I was asked to ride Doug Ness's horses for the first time in the junior jumper classes at the Royal Winter Fair. Lorne was a rider-trainer. He had a great horse called Planet. It was a really good jumper. I went in on him, and I had 4 faults. Or I had a knockdown. It might have been 2 faults, but 4. It was a knockdown anyways. But anyways, Lorne, when I came out, Lorne said, "Why didn't you just sit there and let the horse do the jumping?" Fortunately, Lorne let me ride the other horse, which was a bit of a festy mare called the Witch. And I had 1.5 faults, and I had a front rub, and I had a hind rub for a half a fault. And fortunately, I redeemed myself a bit because I came second. Lorne, you know, I wasn't nervous riding those horses. I was nervous riding for you. Next year, I had my biggest win in the open jump, my first open jumper in the open jumper division. I had to go into the ring 6 times, and the man I beat was Lorne. But Lorne won the other 2 classes. At that time, you know, FEI rules weren't in place, so there was no time jump off at all. You just kept going in the ring until, you know, the winner was declared. You just kept jumping. Lorne told me that when he first went down to the Harrisburg Horse Show, he had to jump 52 fences to win the class. And then he went back again, and he won the touch and out. Lorne won championships all over the world. I'm just going to see. I got to jump here a bit because I don't want to be too long. Lorne was a quiet and classical rider, as was mentioned in the video, and he was equally at home and on hunters and jumpers. Actually, as you saw, really from the some of those photos there, Lorne rode his jumpers like he did his hunters. I guess his best, actually, or his greatest asset, was that he was so steady and consistent. He dared you to make a mistake. His consistency also carried over onto his daily life, or vice versa. Ricky Thompson's mother told my sister that Lorne would have bacon and eggs for breakfast, bacon and eggs for lunch, and bacon and eggs for supper. So that's consistency. His riding and training skills were enforced by his mentor, the legendary Mexican general Humberto Morelos, who won the gold medal and the team medal, gold medal, at the 1948 Olympics. As well, he and the Mexican team dominated the North American circuit, international circuit, during the late 40s and early 50s. General Murley's advice to Lorne was, sit down, sit still, and wait for the horse to jump. And I think that's pretty good advice for today's riders and trainers, too. He worked and rode for all the top stables in Canada. But he started out with the great horse dealer, Stu Holding, who a lot of us had bought our horses from, but he also sold a lot of top horses. Mike Grenier was one of the riders that started there as well. He moved on to Langdon Hall of Mrs. Willison, and then to the Cudney Stables, where he rode En Route, Panama, and War Bond. Lorne, when I had a conversation with him, told me that his best horse, War Bond was the best horse, and that he had ever ridden, and that he has ever ridden, and as far as ability goes. And he was a thoroughbred conformation hunter. But at that time, the conformation hunters and the working hunters had to jump 4 foot 6 fences. But Lorne told me that this horse could really jump a Grand Prix course. He also then went on and rode King High, Red Fencer, and Pall Mall for Charlie Lovelace, went to the Revlon stables of Shirley Thomas, went and rode for several years with Charlie Armstrong's ABC Farms, rode Black Velvet, Gray Velvet, Red Velvet, and Brown Velvet. And then he finished his professional career, I guess, with the Sifton stables, that of Carolyn Sifton's. He was one of the riders. I guess he was the rider that started Mainspring, and Mainspring went on to be the best horse in the 1972 Olympics for Billy Steincross of the USA team. He also trained Morgan Firestone and Benna Firestone and Sue Grange and many others. I tried to get Lorne to tell me who his favorite owner was, but as a gentleman like he is, he declined. But since Charlie Armstrong's here tonight, Charlie, I know you were one of his favorites. But I suspect, really, that it was probably maybe Sue's Grange's mother, Mrs. Campbell, that was probably his favorite. He told me a story that they were jumping at Syracuse horse show to 2 o'clock in the morning, and there was only one person in the stand, and that was Mrs. Campbell. Lorne was loyal to his owners and his customers, and they were loyal to him. I never have heard anybody say a bad word about Lorne, and that's, in this sport, it's a rarity. He's a horseman's horseman, always putting his horse's welfare before his own. Lorne is a man of few words. He always let his horses do the talking for him in the results that they got. He is a real champion of our sport and a class act on and off the horse. So to me, Lorne, as Torchy mentioned there, he was the idol of us young riders. And so I'm really pleased and honored to have Lorne come up here tonight and present him with this award. Come on up, Lorne.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to be here tonight, and I would like to thank the committee and Jump Canada for inducting me into their Hall of Fame. Also, show jumping is a great sport, and continues to grow with each and every year. Thank you.
Lorne Siegel inducted into a Hall of Fame in the Riders category.